cameras were rolling alive aback. Cynthia Erivo began a count a fan letter. Her articulation bankrupt at the third branch, and she abandoned the cards on the board and absolved off stage. Jimmy Fallon and 300 admirers associates watched in shock. The Tonight appearance starring Jimmy Fallon. Studios 6A at Rockefeller Center, Wednesday night. Edition Celebrity Interview. Edition Annular of Amateur and Laughs. Edition Adventure in the Amaranthan accent of backward night television. Cynthia Erivo was the guest. The Tony and Grammy-winning extra and singer, assertive, performer, one of the best accomplished artists of her generation. She'd appeared to advance her latest project, and the account had been activity perfectly. Jimmy and Cynthia had abundant chemistry. The admirers was admiring it. Aggregate was absolutely as it should be until the articulation ambassador handed Jimmy a dejected agenda during the bartering break. Fan mail segment, the ambassador said quickly. We've got a letter accurately addressed to Cynthia. Absolutely beautiful. Anticipation, it would be a nice moment. Jimmy glanced at the card. It was accepted procedure. Occasionally, they'd apprehend fan belletrist on air. Abnormally, if they were decidedly affecting or funny. It fabricated for acceptable television. Animal connection. Complete emotion. Sounds good, Jimmy said, tucking the agenda into his stack. They came back from commercial. Jimmy acclimatized into his chair. Cynthia sitting beyond from him, in the bedfellow seat, smiling, relaxed. The admirers acclaimed as they alternate to air. So, Cynthia, Jimmy began, his accent alive, hardly from comedic to sincere. We got a letter. A fan wrote to the appearance accurately for you, and I anticipation maybe you'd appetite to apprehend it. Cynthia's face lit up. Oh, adulation. Account fan letters. They're consistently so sweet. Jimmy handed her the dejected agenda with the letter printed on it. The camera zoomed in hardly as Cynthia adapted her position. Captivation, the agenda, up to read. Okay, let's see, she said, smiling. Dear Cynthia, she began to read. Her articulation was warm, professional, absolutely what you'd apprehend from edition, acclimatized to performing. The admirers listened quietly. A short article, heartwarming and simple. Dear Cynthia, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm autographed. This letter, from Auberge Affliction, in Cleveland, Ohio. I accept date for pancreatic cancer, and my doctor has told me I accept about 3 weeks larbert to live. Cynthia's smile faltered slightly, but she kept reading, her articulation steady. I'm 32 years old. I accept a 6-year-old babe, alleged Emma, who loves to sing. She doesn't absolutely accept what's accident to me yet. And I don't apperceive how to explain to her that mommy is an activity to get better. The flat had gone absolutely quiet. This wasn't the accepted fan letter. The admirers sensed it immediately. The about-face in tone, the weight of the words. Jimmy's announcement afflicted from accidental absorption to anxious attention. Cynthia continued, her articulation alpha 2, waver slightly. 3 years ago, I took Emma to see you in The Color Purple on Broadway. It was the Aboriginal Broadway appearance she'd any time seen. She sat in my lap the complete time, absolutely mesmerized. Back, you sang, I'm here. Article happened to her. She angry to me with tears in her eyes and said, Mommy, she's singing, about actuality strong. Cynthia's easily started to tremble. She paused for aloof a second. Afresh pushed forward. After the show, Emma absently she capital to be a singer. She capital to be like you. For 3 years, she's been singing that song, I'm actuality, every distinct day. Back. I got my analysis after most year, and the treatments weren't working, and I started accepting sicker. Emma would peer into my allowance and sing it to me. Jimmy chuckful mid-gesture. The complete flat froze. Cynthia's articulation cracked. She looked up from the card, her eyes bushing with tears. Afresh affected herself to accumulate, reading. I'm here. I'm here. Cynthia read, her articulation now almost aloft, a whisper. She would sing it to me like it was a prayer, like if she sang it loud enough, I would stay. A breach formed bottomward Cynthia's cheek. She wiped it abroad quickly, aggravating to advance composure, but her easily were afraid so abominably. The agenda was trembling. Cynthia, I'm not activity to be actuality abundant longer, but Emma will be, and she's activity to abound up after her mother. She's activity to accept questions I can't answer. She's activity to accept moments I can't be there for. And I charge her to know. I charge her to accept that actuality here. Actuality present, actuality strong. That's everything. Cynthia chockful reading. She looked at the card, afresh at Jimmy, afresh aback at the card. The weight of what she was reading, the absoluteness of this woman dying, this little babe accident her mother had become too much. I don't. Cynthia started, her articulation breaking completely. I can't. She stood up abruptly. The dejected agenda fell from her silly assimilate. Jimmy's desk. She put one duke over her mouth, tears now alive, advisedly bottomward her face, and angry abroad from the cameras. The flat was in complete silence. 300 bodies, watching. Not abiding what was happening. Not abiding. If this was allotment of the appearance or article, complete breaking through. Cynthia took to accomplish, against date lift, against the wings, against primacy, against anywhere but beneath these lights, with these cameras, and this absurd letter. Jimmy stood up immediately. His dejected agenda broadcast beyond his desk, his comedic persona, the one he wore so calmly every night, vanished completely. Cynthia, he alleged out, his articulation affable but urgent. Wait, please. She chock-full but didn't about face around. Her amateur were shaking. The admirers could see her errant alike from behind. Jimmy looked at his administrator in the ascendancy booth, afresh at the audience, afresh at Quest, adulation and the Roots, who had chock-full arena, completely. Anybody who was watching this moment unfold. This blow amid ball and adverse reality. Cut to commercial. Jimmy said agilely to the date manager. We're alive to tape. The date administrator aside back. We can't aloof, I don't care. Jimmy interrupted, his articulation firm. Accord us a minute, please. The date administrator nodded and signaled to the ascendancy booth. The on-air ablaze clicked off. They were no best broadcasting. Technically, the cameras kept rolling, but they'd cut the augment momentarily. Jimmy absolved beyond the date, too. Area Cynthia stood with her aback to everyone. He didn't rush. He didn't perform. He aloof, absolved like an animal actuality, a budding addition, animal actuality in pain. Hey, he said cautiously aback, he calmed her. I am so sorry I didn't apperceive the letter. Was activity to be... they told me it was a fan letter, but I had no idea. It's not your fault, Cynthia managed, still not access around, wiping at her face with both hands. It's aloof, that little girl. She's 6 years old. Jimmy, she's activity to lose her mother, and she's been singing my song to her like it can save her. I know, Jimmy said quietly. I know. Subscribe and leave an animadversion because the best able allotment of this adventure is still ahead. At BAFTA, the admirers sat in complete silence. Some were crying. Bass were artlessly watching, a dress attestant to article they'd never accepted to see on a backward nightball show. Jimmy acclaim affected Cynthia's shoulder. Can you accomplishment it? The letter. Cynthia befuddled her head. I don't anticipate I can. Okay, a fresh I'll accomplishment it. Is that okay? She angry too, attending at him. Mascara's tears still falling. You do that? Of course. They absolved to back to the board together. The cameras were still rolling. The augment was still off, but anybody in that flat accepted they were witnessing article reel. Jimmy best up, the dejected agenda from area had collapsed on his desk. Cynthia sat aback, bottomward in the bedfellow chair, tissues in her hands, aggravating to compose herself. Folks, Jimmy said, acclamation, the flat admirers directly. I'm activity to accomplishment account this letter, and I charge you all to apperceive that what you're seeing appropriate now. This is real. This isn't a bit. This is an allotment of the show. This is aloof activity, accident in advance of us. He looked bottomward at the agenda and connected account area. Cynthia had stopped. I'm autographed this letter because I accept one request. Bobak, I'm gone. I have abiding for Emma to accept a video bulletin from me. The article she can watch. Bobak, she's older. Obak, she can understand. But Cynthia, if there's any way, if there's any possibility, could you almanac article for her? 2. Aloof, a few words. Aloof, abundant, to let her apperceive that the song she's been singing agency, something. It's that actuality here. Actuality present and able and brave, that's what matters. Jimmy's own articulation was starting to able now. He paused, austere his throat, and pushed forward. You've already accustomed my babe so much. You've accustomed her a voice. You've accustomed her backbone. She doesn't alike apperceive she as yet. But if you could accord her one added thing, aloof, a message, aloof, a moment area, you acquaint her that her mother was right. That actuality is everything. Afresh, maybe aback. I'm gone. She, accept what I was aggravating to advise her all along. Jimmy looked up at Cynthia, who was airing above board now, no best aggravating to adumbrate it. The letter signed. Jimmy said quietly, Sarah Mitchell, Cleveland, Ohio. She included her acquaintance information. Cynthia put her azili over her face and sobbed. Not the affable errant of addition, aggravating to advanced accord on television. Complete anatomy, frayed sobs. The admirers started to rant with her. Jimmy's eyes were glistening. Abaft the scenes, Fallon fabricated accommodation that defied every producer's expectation. Jimmy set the agenda bottomward anxiously on his desk. He looked at his chief ambassador in the wings and fabricated a gesture, a simple nod that announced everything. The ambassador accepted Anon and pulled out his phone. "Said you," Jimmy said, his articulation abiding, admitting the emotion. "We're activity to do, article appropriate, now. We're activity to alarm that hospice. We're activity to see if Sarah is able to booty a call. And if she is, your activity to allocution to her appropriate here. Appropriate now." Cynthia looked up, her face streaked with tears. "What?" "You heard me? We're calling her. And your activity to acquaint her that yes, you almanac, article for Emma. Your activity to acquaint her that her babe has a mother who admired her abundant to address this letter. Said your activity to let Sarah apperceive that she's not alone. That we see her, that she matters. Jimmy, Cynthia's articulation bankrupt again. "I don't apperceive what to say to her." "You'll know," Jimmy said simply. "Back. You apprehend her voice? You'll know." The ambassador came a simulant date with a phone. The flat was still in that abeyance state. Off for technically, but cameras rolling, admirers present, anybody captivation, their breath. Jimmy took the buzz and dialed the cardinal from the letter. He put it on a postle and set it on his desk. It rang twice. A fresh, anemic articulation answered, "Hello. Hi. Is this Sarah Mitchell?" Jimmy asked, his articulation gentle. "Yes. Who is this?" "Sarah. My name is Jimmy Fallon. I'm calling from The Tonight Show. I'm actuality with Cynthia. We aloof, apprehend your letter on air." There was a continued pause. A fresh Sarah's voice, almost a whisper. "Oh my God, you apprehend it." "We did," Jimmy said. "And Cynthia wants to allocution to you." He slid the buzz appear Cynthia, who stared at it for a moment, a aptitude forward. "Sarah." Cynthia's articulation was blubbery with emotion. "Cynthia." Sarah articulate, like she couldn't accept what was happening. "I can't. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm on a lot of medication. I don't apperceive if I'm dreaming." "You're not dreaming," Cynthia said, animated through her tears. "I'm here. I'm absolutely here. And I appetite you to apperceive that." Yes. I will almanac article 4. Emma. I will acquaint her aggregate you appetite her to apperceive about actuality. Strong. About actuality here. About accepting a mother who admired her so abundant. That she wrote to a drifter allurement for help. Sarah started errant on the added end of the line. The complete was heartbreaking. Weak. Exhausted, but abounding of relief. "Thank you," Sarah whispered. "Thank you. She talks about you every day. She wants to be aloof, like you. And I appetite her to know. I appetite her to accept that I tried, that I backward as continued as I could. She know," Cynthia said firmly. "I affiance you she apperceive because I am activity to acquaint her. And every time she sings that song, every time she says, 'I'm here,' she'll bethink that you were here, too. For as continued as you possibly could be." The flat admirers was above board complaining. Nah. Jimmy had tears alive bottomward his face. The roofs had tears. The cameraman had tears. Anybody in that architecture was crying. But this is the moment. No one in the flat and no one watching at home anytime saw coming. "Sarah," Cynthia said, her articulation stronger. "Now I appetite Emma. To apprehend article appropriate. Now can you put me on speaker? Is Emma there? She's in the allowance with me? She's comatose in the armchair beside my bed. Death watch. Her up," Cynthia said gently. "Please." They heard rustling. A fresh Sarah's anemic voice. "Emma, honey, death watch up. Addison wants to allocution to you." A baby asleep voice. "Mommy, Emma," Cynthia said, her articulation abounding of warmth. "My name is Cynthia. Your mommy told me you'd like to sing." Silence. Afresh. You're the adult from the show, the one who sings." "I'm here. That's me, sweetheart, and I heard you've been singing it to your mommy. I sing it every day, so she'll stay." Cynthia's face crumpled, but her articulation backward, strong. "Emma, I pitch at you to accumulate singing every distinct day, because that song, it's about actuality. Brave, and your mommy is the bravest being I've any time heard of." A fresh Cynthia began to sing, appropriate there on Jimmy's board over a buzz, to a dying woman and her 6-year-old babe in Auberge allowance in Cleveland. I'm here. The flat was bashful except for her voice. The admirers stood slowly, tears alive as Cynthia sang for Sarah and Emma. Back. She finished. Emma's baby articulation came through. "That was beautiful." "You're beautiful," Cynthia whispered. "Both of your lotmen and subscribe. Make abiding this adventure is never forgotten." Sarah Mitchell died 11 Canacou later. But before she did, Cynthia recorded a 20-minute video bulletin for Emma Cogant her about strength, about love, about mothers who break as continued as they can. Jimmy never aired the buzz call. He kept it private, a moment too angelic for television. But he affected the letter and afraid it in his bathrobe room. And every year on the ceremony of that episode, Cynthia calls Emma. They talk. They sing, because some promises are forever.